Welcome to our expert session webinar, how Whistling Straits achieves world-class player experiences and operational efficiency, and how they optimize revenue alongside. My name is Bodo Sieber. I'm the CEO of Tagmarshal. I'm joined by my good friend and colleague, Craig Kleu, who's the COO, and very importantly, Mike O'Reilly, our expert guest, who's the Director of Golf Operations at Destination Kohler, which comprises of Whistling Straits and Black Wolf Run. Mike, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for giving us of your time and expertise.
No problem, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Okay, I would like to hand over to you right away, Mike. Why don't you give us a quick introduction on the resort and also yourself as a seasoned professional.
Yeah, no problem. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today. It's good to be here. Again, my name is Mike O'Reilly. I'm the Director of Golf Operations at Destination Kohler, which is comprised of Black Wolf Run and Whistling Straits. We are 72 hole. We are soon to be an 82 hole. We're opening a 10 hole par 3 course next year and a 2-acre putting green. So that's exciting news. But right now, 72 hole resort. 36 holes at Black Wolf Run, the River and the Meadow Valleys course, and 36 holes at Whistling Straits, the Straits and the Irish course. We've become most well known for the Straits course, which has hosted several PGA championships and was supposed to host the Ryder Cup this year, now postponed until 2021 due to COVID-19, as many of you probably know. So a lot of changes this year around the resort, but things have gone pretty well. A little bit about myself. I am a PGA member of the Wisconsin section. I'm currently the vice president of the Wisconsin section, so I help the section a little bit as well. I've been with Kohler for 25 years. I started at Black Wolf Run before Whistling Straits was a thing. I caddied for a few years, and I worked as an assistant pro in the early 2000s. Head pro at Whistling Straits for roughly 10 years, and I've been the director of golf for about 4 years now. So I've been around Kohler Company and golf and resort golf for quite a while.
Thanks, Mike. I know, Craig, you've been secretly training for the Ryder Cup. Do you remember which hole this is on the Straits course?
That looks like the 13th. Such beautiful holes. They've got a few of them that run. Is that the 13th, Mike? Maybe I got it wrong.
No, that's number 7.
Number 7, of course.
Not too far off, but it goes the same direction. Lake on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Okay.
But beautiful hole. I think I hit 2 on the beach here.
Probably. If I was a betting man, that's what I would bet.
I would have matched and raised that. Mike, the burning question, obviously postponed is better than cancelled. So we are excited that we still get to see the Ryder Cup at the Straits. Are there going to be fans? And the nice thing is that you've got a bit of time until decisions will be made. And what is your sense of the Ryder Cup and fans? And while I mentioned that, I believe that we've got the team from Le National on this webinar, who also using the Tagmarshal system over in Paris. So they really showed us how to bring the fans into play. So they've set the bar very high for you guys. What is your sense on fans and the Ryder Cup next season?
Yeah, they showed us how to bring the fans into play and also how to set up a golf course to beat the American team. So they did well. So we're going to try to do the opposite. But no, we're going to try to do the same with fans and the opposite with the golf course. But no, as of right now, we are moving forward as we are having fans for the 2020 Ryder Cup, the 43rd playing of the Ryder Cup, which will now be played in 2021. Obviously, with all the uncertainty, here in the state of Wisconsin, around the country, and around the world, we are making alternative plans should we have to pivot at some point. But we have re-upped contracts with corporate hospitality. Tickets are still quote unquote sold. Some people, decided to back out, but majority of ticket holders held on to their tickets. So as of right now, we're moving forward and feeling confident that we'll be hosting the Ryder Cup as it should be with fans next fall.
Awesome. Yeah, the Ryder Cup deserves some Wisconsin hospitality.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that.
I think
Thank you for
that it's later in the year really helps. It gives some time for things to normalize. So I'll be there, Mike. I'll be there. You can buy me a beer.
You got it, Craig. Backstage passes to everything, locker room, you name it. But no, it is almost the fourth quarter of 2021, which is a big advantage for us. This year was a challenge. Everything came on so quickly with every sporting event, every large event, without much time to plan. So now we're in a position where we have a lot more time to plan for having fans and how to do it properly if this is still going, and make alternative plans if it's still really bad. So we'll take it one day at a time.
Yeah, if there's a golf competition that deserves fans, it's certainly that one. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we are hoping that it'll all map out. It's not the first major that you've hosted successfully, so we're in for a treat, I'm sure. Okay, let's get into the meat of our conversation. And before we do that, let me just spend half a minute on a quick introduction to Tagmarshal. So we are a golf optimization system. At this point, we've tracked 15 million rounds of golf, and our goal is to track and improve those. And we've got lots of data, which we're learning from constantly, and there's about 300 courses that use our system to optimize. The Ryder Cup has got a lot of representation on this page. So there's a Hazeltine, and there's Le National, and obviously Whistling Straits, so some phenomenal setups. In the top row, you'll see some very high-end and well-known private clubs. In the middle row is your daily fee sort of resort contingent that we work with, including Whistling Straits and Black Wolf Run, obviously, and at the bottom are some of the associations and organizations that we adding value to. So for us, it's this is year number 6, I believe, and with the Straits and Black Wolf Run, Craig, how many years have we worked with the teams? Remind me, is it 5?
2015, we ran a pilot. So 2016 was their first official year as customers.
Okay, so we're going into year 5. So there's lots of learnings, obviously, and lots of data to look back at, and we've just seen optimization happen at those facilities, and obviously Mike has been a fantastic driver of that. So what we want to talk about today is what are the experience factors that matter to golfers. So it's not our opinion, there's lots of research behind that. So we'll look at that a bit. Then most importantly, how does Whistling Straits create world-class play experiences? So our goal is to share a little bit of that magic sauce so that the many operators that are on this webinar live, and also the ones that are going to watch it later on, can maybe get some takeaways from that. How does optimization add a positive impact on your efficiency? And then lastly, what's the revenue impact on optimization and having data to work with? Because that's the end game, right? Improving the player experience and making it a positive business impact. So if it's okay with you guys, let's jump straight in. And what's always exciting is to read the room a little bit. So what I would like to just say is, anyone have any questions as we go on, please shoot them into the chat function. We'll try and answer. And if I can start you guys off on a quick poll, what do you think are the top 3 player experience factors? Let me just launch that. So if you can just take 2 or 3 seconds to pick 3 out of this list. So we've got course design, we've got course conditioning, we've got clubhouse and amenities, pace and flow of players on there, playing partners in the playing group, accessibility and tee time availability, and can I get to the club and can I go play, and obviously cost and value. So it's always nice to see what are the key factors that impact the experience. We don't want to rig these elections and this polling, so let's not influence it unduly.
It's not letting me vote, so I can't click on pace of play and flow like 100 times. So
now, as I was saying, Craig, we don't want to influence or rig anything, but generally there's a very firm direction in how people respond. So we've got about half the votes in, which is 60%. Okay, let's see if Michigan's voting or not.
Had to go there, Bodo.
No, there's lots of red and blue on this live polling, and it's a very tight race. Okay, I'm going to end the poll because we can actually do that, and I hope you guys are not going to contest any of these results. It's not life or death. Share the results. Okay, so our top three are pace and flow of play, course conditioning, and cost and value. And obviously value is a magic, because sometimes a $300 round is fantastic value, and sometimes a $25 round is too expensive, right? Mike, what would you have bet here, and what would you have guessed as the top three? What are the top three for you as a seasoned operator?
Yeah, I think these are good. I probably would have put pace of play, course conditioning, and course design, but that's for more of a destination kind of bucket list type place like ours. You know, people are really here to see the golf course and to play the golf course. But you know, if I'm not traveling across the country or across the world to see a golf course, I'm certainly concerned with the cost and value of that round. So it's different for different rounds of golf, I think. So
the USGA has done extensive research on this also over multiple years, and they found that the top factor is course conditioning, right? That's number one. And you know that at your courses, which is why a tremendous amount of budget and effort goes into it, and golf drives the bus for your resort, right? What we want to quickly look at is a bit of in-depth research that was done by one of your neighbors, Mike, as it were Professors Christina Skunova and Eric Gray are from the University of Wisconsin-Start, and they were commissioned by the USGA to do some research in 2019 that was then presented at the Innovation Symposium. And they wanted to understand the golfer experience better, and what are the factors that influence the golfer experience over and above those big tickets that we've just looked at, but what is the detail? And they literally went and defined 1,000 touch points in the golf experience. And what they found is that all these touch points go across the sort of cycle of engagement, which is engage, when can I go and play around at the Straits, and how do I book this round? Then I travel there, I arrive, I drive through the gate, that's arrival. Then obviously the golf, which is a key component, which is why it's illustrated in such a massive chunk of this. I mean, that's the decision, right? I know that you guys have got fantastic restaurants at the Straits and at the resort, but that's not what I'm going for. I'm going there for the golf. It drives the bus. That's the attraction. Exit is what happens post-round, and then extenders with the Straits reaching out to me. Did you enjoy a stay? We hope to have you back soon. And then hopefully next year I'll be back and get Ryder Cup tickets too. So all of these, there's 1,000, and including loading your golf clubs in your boot is one touch point. So there's a lot of these that are ranked by perfect for straighter to perfect delighter and everything in between. And a lot of them sort of just float along, but some of them are really, really important as far as the experience goes. And here's a big surprise. The number one positive impact factor in the golf experience is positive ranger etiquette. And that is mostly because it's so unexpected. And Mike, I'm sure that in your years as a pro, you would have seen the odd ranger who has come straight out of military academy and is maybe a bit harsh with the players. And even the word ranger and marshal is sort of military and very discipline orientated. Is that a surprise to you? And also, how do you guys do that? Are your marshals called marshals, or are they called player assistants, for instance, at the Straits course and at the Black Wolf Run facilities?
Yeah. I mean, they're called player assistants. And we've, I wish I could say that we were perfect and had perfect training for everyone. And this had never occurred. But I think, depending, what makes this such a challenge for all of us is, the different personalities that you're interacting with as well. The same thing said from one ranger to one person can be taken one way and it can be taken a different way by someone else at a different time. So, that person's, ability to read the customer in that moment is incredibly important. But this doesn't surprise me.
Sure.
One bit.
And unsurprisingly, on the bottom end of the scale, corrective pace of play actions taken, which is the marshal coming over with a grumpy voice and saying, "You're slow, get on with it." That is the worst overall experience factor. But ironically, other speed, so if other people are holding me up, is equally as bad. So that's a bit of a conundrum, right? Because players are saying, manage this so that I'm not held up and there's a good flow, but also they're saying, don't manage it in a way that is friction, that causes friction and is negative, and don't ever tell me that I'm slow.
Yep.
So this is sort of the space that we're finding. Obviously, 1,000. There's a list of 1,000, and they're all ranking somewhere here. Obviously, conditioning ranks high, open tees, so that I can go and play and I don't have to wait, ranks high. Overall playing speed ranks high. Conditioning ranks high, as I said. The ranger and marshal role in general is not that well liked and is a frustrator, and the placement, because often if there's a marshal, the players are, well, the guy or lady's at the wrong place at the wrong time. Why don't they take care of the guys in front of us who are holding us up? So this whole space is really quite emotional. And we can see that obviously also when on the tour, there's a pace of play incident, how Twitter implodes more often than not, because it's so emotional and all the players are digging into that. And would you agree, Mike, that if you have a fantastic facility like the Straits, which is a beautiful design, a major effort goes into conditioning, that you want to present it in a way that's as playable as possible in terms of the flow? So if you get that right, that's your golden ticket.
Yeah, absolutely. The course conditioning, as you mentioned before, is extremely important to the guest experience all over, and that certainly is the case here. It's important to us as well that we set up the golf course in a way that, pin location, tee location, green speed, we can't set up our greens at a, 13 on the stip meter. We're just asking for trouble. We'll have people 3-putting and 4-putting all day long, and over at Black Wolf Run, same thing as well. So, you can set up the golf course in a way that's gonna help us, to keep play moving as well.
Is that what happened to your score, Craig, when you played?
Well, I was pleasantly surprised that the greens weren't as quick as I saw them on the TV, to be honest. Because if they were, I probably wouldn't have finished the round at all.
Yeah, we don't want them that fast.
It wasn't the Ryder Cup setup yet. Okay. Just before we jump on, here's another set of research that comes from a company that does post-round surveys and post-round sentiment tracking. And what they found is a golf course really doesn't need to do that many things well. But what they need to do well is players want to feel welcome, players want a good flow of play, and players want to meet on-course staff. If you think back at, let me jump back. So the golf and what's happening out on the golf course takes up a big chunk of my golf experience, right? So sure, it's great if I can go and play, but if I have positive staffing interactions while I'm out there, that's when I'm really feeling looked after. So feeling welcome, good flow, meet on-course staff are all good things. And there is a little magic number called the Net Promoter Score, which is basically the good old question of, would you recommend the service or product to your friends and peers, rated out of 10? The thing that the airlines always want to know from you. And anything that's highly rated, 7 to 10, is positive net promotion. So that people would say, yeah, this was great, I loved it, and I'll tell people about it. If it's 0 to 3, that's negative. And what happens if we don't do these things well, if people aren't quite feeling welcome, and if the flow isn't good, and if they're not meeting anyone out there, they're feeling a bit left out in the cold, that's when the Net Promoter Score tanks. So that is very critical. When it comes to when it comes to tracking of data around this, Mike, and that's where we want to jump into our first Whistling Straits topic. How do you create a player experience, and is sentiment tracking, is that something that you guys are doing, and is that important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's extremely important for us to know from our guests directly, what the experience is like, where we're falling short, where we're doing extremely well, what staff members are doing well, and maybe what staff members need a little bit of coaching. So extremely important to us. So, you hit the nail on the head as far as designing the guest journey. I think, for us, and I know we all work at different facilities, but, for us, we are owned by a plumbing company. So it's very important to us that the overall experience shines a light on the Kohler brand and who we are as a company. It's extremely important to us. The plumbing part of our company is the mothership, and we're certainly an important part of that as well. So when we design the guest journey, we think of it from, point of, the person researching, learning, finding out, mostly on our website, how are they learning about us, to the point that they get here, to the point that they leave. Each of those touch points is extremely important, and we look closely at each of them and say, what is the best experience at this particular moment? And if we can hit most of those, we'll do very well. And pace of play is extremely important to that. You spend a lot of time on the golf course. If people are visiting our destination and playing 3, 4, 5 rounds of golf, which is fairly common, they're on the golf course for, 25 hours total, probably more, 30 hours when you include getting to the golf course, on the range, on the patio after, things like that. So they're at the golf facilities for a majority of their stay, and it's important that we take care of each of those touch points.
Those are great points. So can we safely assume that when I'm landing at Milwaukee Airport, that Kohler facility that I'm going to visit is part of that experience design that you guys have created on my way to the perfect. I thought so.
Yes, when you visit the facilities at Milwaukee Airport, yes.
Shiny and excellent. Okay, continuous improvement. I think that is something that we keep preaching to the managers that we work with, and also that's something that we preach to our own team here at Tagmarshal, because we need to track and measure and improve, and that's the only way. So how do you guys do that at your facilities? What sort of processes do you have in place to make that happen?
Yeah, so continuous improvement is one that hits, comes close to my heart. One of the core competencies of the entire Kohler company is to focus on continuous improvement. And in order to be able to focus on continuous improvement, sorry, just got a phone call. Let me hit send calls here.
Don't worry.
Just take that off there. In order to focus on
one of your colleagues.
Yeah, it was the caddy office calling up here. One of the things, as far as continuous improvement, is we need to have data to see how we're doing, and that's from a pace of play standpoint, that's where Tagmarshal really helps us out, is the ability to track and manage based on real time as well as historical data. So then we can make real decisions. In the years past, prior to Tagmarshal, did we track pace of play on the golf course on all 4 golf courses? Absolutely, we did. Many times, as I'm sure a lot of us on the call can relate to, it was on a printed Excel spreadsheet. That if you wanted to look back at what happened last Tuesday, you'd have to go into the file and go through 9 pieces of paper to find last Tuesday, and every single data point wasn't there because there's no way the person could have been at every point on the golf course at any given time. So, that's one of the huge advantages for us, and our ability to continuously improve is the data. Being able to look back easily, specific days, specific issues, what happened this day. So that's critical for us. But all across the board, another thing, I kid a little bit with the professional staff, as we have a a process for continuous improvement process. And at the end of each season, right around this time, I'll ask the entire staff just to write a list. And what that list is, it's, what happened this year, not what happened one time. That was maybe something that can be improved upon, but what happened 12 times this year that every time it happened, you said to yourself, that wasn't very good. Those are the things we need to look at. And we make those lists right now, begin working on them over the winter. And each season we probably come up with, 30 to 40 things that we want to get a little bit better for in the next season. Then we have time to get ready for it. And we put a new process in place the following year. And we improve a little bit, so if we do that continuously each and every year and follow up on those things, it helps us keep getting better.
That's really nicely defined. And obviously your on-course experience and how to make that consistent and excellent is a key focus for you guys, right? Like you mentioned. So what are some of the magic sauce of what you're doing that makes, apart from the conditioning and the amazing design, that would make me remember my round at the Straits in terms of the people and the engagement, and what can I expect?
Yeah, one thing that is big for us, as far as the on-course, and a big improvement we made this year was the handheld units that the caddies hold. That gives them access to where they're at from a pace of play standpoint. So Craig and I, after, he mentioned we kind of did a demo in 2015. I think we started it right after the PGA Championship. And into 2016, our first year, Craig and I were talking. I said, we really need real-time feedback to the caddy. And if the caddy has real-time feedback in his hand, he's going to see that I'm 3 minutes over pace, 7 minutes over pace, 10 minutes under pace, whatever the case may be. He has a relationship with the player already, and he has met the player, went to the driving range, they're on the golf course, they've started to develop a relationship, and he can now say to the player, Mr. Smith, here's my pace of play tracker, we're 3 minutes over, we got to get moving a little bit. And that stops the need for the mean ranger to come up and actually interact with the group. Now the ranger can come up and say, hey guys, how's everything going? You guys doing all right? Can I get you anything? And that's a positive interaction because the caddy has already taken care of the pace of play interaction. So, for our caddies, we have the Straits courses walking only. Majority of the Irish course players do take caddies. So certainly over at Whistling Straits, these two golf courses, we have 2 player assistants in almost every group. So that's been a big improvement for us this year. And the ability for the caddy with the real-time feedback as far as pace of play is concerned has been a big step for us.
That's awesome. We're going to jump just now to how that looks like. But Craig, in your experience as having played the Straits, very starstruck, how have you found the people interactions? Because often that's the magic sauce, right? That's what you remember.
Yeah. Well, it goes without
competency, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes without saying. I mean, from the moment you arrive to you walk off the course, the experience was magic. And I mean, I'm not just saying that because Mike's a customer. It really was a unique experience. And you could see that they'd thought that journey through. Everything down from the greeter when you park your car all the way through to the people that serve you when you walk off the course. So it was very memorable. And yes, that's what I expected, playing a bucket list destination course. And it certainly was what I got. In fact, it surpassed expectations.
I think that's an important point, Mike, is that the expectations obviously are sky high, and it's up to you to accept the challenge of exceeding those every single time. So I think, Craig, why don't you do us a favor and just give us a 30-second overview of how Tagmarshal fits into that landscape?
Yeah, sure. So effectively what we've created over time is a way to track your performances, your course's performance in a real-time window. And we do that by giving a little piece of hardware to each group, one per group, And there's various different types, but the first type that, and this is the type that Mike started with at the Straits course and then moved very quickly over to the rest of their courses, is this little classic tag. Effectively, what that does is gives a location of every group, and it pushes that information back to our central cloud-hosted servers, which makes sense of it and contextualize that data and display it on a live tracking platform where a manager can log in, anybody in fact, with access to the platform. It's a browser-based system, can log in and see exactly what's happening on their course very intuitively because of the algorithms that run on that system. And I think we go into it a little bit more later, but the other pieces of hardware that you can use to track are this little mobile device, which has now got a screen. It's called our Tagmarshal two-way handled unit. So that is the interaction with the caddy that Mike was talking to. And we can put that on a GPS screen in the carts, which is a very popular way of doing it.
So Craig, just I know that you and the customer success team dig into the data quite a bit. How many people at the Straits interact with the system, and also how many sort of logins would they have in a month, just roundabout, just so we can get an idea?
So across the group, it's probably on a monthly basis around 8,000 user logins, which effectively is somebody logging into the system to view a dashboard. So that's, I don't know how many hundred or thousand a day. It's a lot.
That's Mike O'Reilly logging in 7,000 times. Mike, how many people do you know are touching on the system at the facility, including the caddies who now have one of these units?
Boy, if we include the caddies, not quite sure. I'd say at any given time, you know, we have 2 to 3 golf professionals on duty, whether it be the head professional or one of the assistant professionals kind of leading the operation at the time. But, you know, at any given time, both facilities, we got 3 to 4 people probably watching this. And then you add the player assistant on top of that as well. So, you know, you got 1 or 2 at each facility. You know, any given time, 5 to 6 people logged in at the same exact time. And then you throw the caddies that are carrying them on the golf course on top of that as well. So, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that the number is quite large.
And what this does for you is it helps you optimize, right? And it helps you work efficiently. Do you remember this exact picture here? What hole is it? What happened? Why is it famous?
I do remember the picture. I do know the hole for sure. That's the 12th hole on the Straits course. That's a tough pin. I can tell you that as well. It's a pretty tough pin to get close to. I don't remember exactly what happened with the shot, though. History would tell us it's probably pretty close.
Yeah.
Jason Day won this event. So Tiger was probably chasing him, going for the pin.
Yeah, Jason Day and Jordan Spieth were in the final group on Sunday, and Day kind of ran away with it. And it was a great day, great event.
It apparently ran away slowly, though.
Well, a funny story. I think he had vertigo during this tournament.
That was the U.S. Open.
Oh, was that the U.S. Open?
Okay. Yeah.
The beauty of it just threw him off.
I've set myself up now to get you guys all excited about reminiscing. Okay, let's look at the optimization angle. Mike, so how does this setup sort of depict of what you guys are doing, and what do you see sort of on this live screen that would make sense for you as to what's happening out on the course at this moment in time, which is obviously a few days ago?
Yeah. So on the left-hand side of the screen there is when we log into the system. One of the managers would log into the system. One of the golf professionals logs into the system. That's what they see. Green numbers are good, under pace, doing well. You can still want to check on them. This particular one on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see it's tag 7. They're 4 minutes under pace. So things are going good there. The group right behind them, though, is one that you got to maybe keep an eye I would then go over, click on that one, see where they're at. If they're +1, they don't look very much out of position. They might even be part of the same group, might be the other caddy with, in this particular case, it probably is that caddy is just lagging behind a little bit, but you can easily see that. If it wasn't the group behind, then you might keep an eye on that group. So, that real-time feedback for the golf professional staff is critical. We can see the whole golf course. You can hone in on part of the golf course. You can, go to any particular group that you want and see how they're doing.
And the units here, this is one of your feature holes, right? Hole 4.
Yep. So yeah, that's the 4th hole, and the caddies can use it for a a yardage guide as well. So it helps the players get yardage to the front, middle, and back of the green. On our golf course, if you hit it way off, there might not be a sprinkler head nearby for a caddy to get a yardage. So it's helpful for the caddy, helpful for the player, as well as helpful for pace of play. If you have a player where the exact yardage means something to them and it's important to them, you're going to be able to give them that versus just kind of making an estimate if you're off in one of the dunes and the bunkers that you see on the screen.
So 2 more things I'd like to talk to is, one is the way to two-way communicate, especially if there's weather or so inclement weather coming in, which obviously never happens at Lake Michigan. And also, this is an example of what your fierce marshal looks like, because there's no authority needed if you have information, because it's never a question of opinion versus opinion. It's based on information. How would you illustrate? How would you explain that?
Yeah, the two-way communication is something we need to, that's certainly an improvement for 2021. Kind of as I, spoke with the Tagmarshal guys, we talked about it and have the capability to do it. Because of COVID, we didn't do it as well as we should have with, figuring out how to, we had to figure out how we were going to give away tees this year versus, figuring out how we're going to optimize Tagmarshal. So, moving forward, that's going to be big for us, is the two-way communication. But, really the ability to give a nudge to a caddy and say, hey, you guys are getting to 5 minutes over through 4 holes. Please start moving. And again, what that does is it allows the caddy to take action in the moment versus someone having to go meet the group after a hole or, and create that possible, difficult conversation that sometimes happens on the golf course. So it's in the moment. The golf operations manager, golf professional can send a note out to the group, as well as you have here the large notices. If you want to send a notice out to everyone, 1 hour from now, there might be a storm coming through. We'll keep you updated. You can send that out to everyone. 30 minutes from now, the storm might be coming through. Storm looks like it's going to miss us, keep going. So you're communicating with everyone out on the golf course at the same time.
Keeping people safe.
Yep.
2020 has shown us a number of ways that we need to get inventive around, right? Including keeping the distance, which is funny enough built into how you guys use the system, because you don't want groups to get too close and sit on top of each other on the tee box. So no congregation is COVID compliant.
Yep. When we started this year, we there are some days it can get a little foggy. And if it's really foggy, we stop play. But one of the tools that the caddies use it for is they can see where the group is in front of them. And make sure that they've cleared. They're you look out in the distance, you're pretty sure they cleared, but let's double check and make sure. So that's helpful for us. And then you said the social distancing. We can see if 2 groups are standing on a par 3 tee box, or if they're following our guidelines, and we've asked them if that does occur, they wait 30 feet back before the other group has cleared the tee box. So it helped us with that a little bit as well.
I think, Mike, do you remember the time before, and if we were to switch the system off now, what would it be like for your team? Like, would you be able to operate, or is it like flying blind?
That would not be good. No. It would be, 5 steps backwards. I really think, and the beauty for us, and Craig and I can reminisce again, is when we started, there was technology out there, but there was nothing that was good for a facility like ours with a lot of walking. The technology just wasn't there, and now it is, and I couldn't imagine going back.
Brilliant. Okay, Craig, you've been very quiet. Why don't you give us just a quick intro on the data and the optimization side of things, and what's the sort of thing that people are tracking with Tagmarshal, and also what performance have you seen at Mike's facilities?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, Mike spoke to it earlier. If you want to do sort of continuous improvement and you want to really work on that, you need data. And that's one of the key aspects of Tagmarshal and its ability to collect and collate data and present it in an easy to digest form. So in the top left of the screen, you've got one of our stats dashboards that tells you a myriad of things and is intuitive to read. But I think just to highlight, it tells you things like day versus period stats, so you can pull out a day and see the average round time on that day. You can see the hold times for the day and where your bottlenecks essentially occurred on any particular day. It tells you the average round time, something that's incredibly important when you're trying to manage flow. And of course, is the weather. On a windy day, you're going to have a little bit more trouble getting people around efficiently. And then what we would say the most important stat at the end of it all is your pace distribution. And Bodo, you've stacked the pace distribution up very nicely here on the right. What effectively we're showing here is the percentage of rounds that occur that are on pace or in 10-minute increments above the goal time that the course sets. So, and this speaks very nicely to the excellent continuous improvement that Whistling Straits have been able to achieve over the years. In 2018, now remember they were 2 years in at this stage, their on-pace performance was around 50%, with those people sort of within 10 minutes of their goal time around 26%. So we would say that around 75% of groups that play Whistling Straits were playing pretty much on time. And they had a contingent of pace of play, however, this quarter from 10 to 20 minutes over all the way to 40 minutes over that were experiencing delays and congestion. And this is a great way to look at things, because an average would probably hide that and tell you, yeah, with half your players playing on pace, your average round time is 5 hours, which is around the goal time that they set. But now they're able to really dig in and see, well, what percentage of rounds are getting unstuck or having some sort of negative flow event out on the course. Roll this forward to 2020, and it speaks to the continuous improvement. Now, I'm not saying that Tagmarshal was the sole reason for this, but it's a large reason insofar as they now have oversight and they can manage it. The results are material, and I've stacked this up on the left here, which you've kindly shown, Bodo. In 2016, their round on pace was 58%, or within 10 minutes of goal time. Spin that forward to this year, and they've got 82% of rounds on pace. That's a 24% around about improvement in the number of rounds that play Whistling Straits. In this particular month, it was August, and in this one, it was July, but that play this course are playing it where flow has been optimized. Now, you and I both know the impact of that on experience and therefore on revenue. And I believe we're going to speak to it a bit later, but this clearly indicates how effectively Mike and his team have been able to dig into player experience and optimize through the years. And Tagmarshal's taken that journey with them.
So Mike, from your point of view, this is obviously something that you look at on a regular basis in terms of your stats and also your pros would dig into that. How have you found just having the certainty of having this information, and how has it helped your continuous improvement journey?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, if we really want to try to get better, we got to know how we're doing right now. And without the ability to know how we're doing right now, in the past, I'll go back 7-8 years. Anecdotally, we would know, be like, well, it was a pretty good year, but we certainly wouldn't go through and hundreds of Excel spreadsheets that are filled out with pencil marks from different guys working on the golf course. It'd be very difficult to do. So, when we started in 2015, 2016, we were, setting a baseline, learning the system, understanding what it could do for us. And as you can see there, we've had the ability to improve from there. So it's been big. We can, sit down at a golf operations meeting, bring up data. We can talk specifically about what happened on a particular day, know what caddies were with the group, know, what type of player they were, because we can look specifically, at the tee time. Was it a group outing? Was it a resort guest? Was it, a public guest, someone coming from the community? Because the expectations and the player ability varies, with the different type of player type. Not always, but many times it does. So, the ability to dig in and have specific data has been huge.
Obviously, while you understand and actively drive the player experience portion of it, being more efficient and having that accuracy around it and the consistency is important. And ultimately, there's a business benefit, right? I mean, that's why you're doing it. Where would you say, and how would you say has it impacted your business in terms of efficiencies, in terms of savings, in terms of bottom line revenue that you've been able to achieve through this optimization?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the business side of things is important to us. I like to focus more on the experience. That's more important to me and to our team than any money that we'll make here at the resort. But it is important. It's another piece of the puzzle for us that we need to focus on. From a staff standpoint, I would say we have been able to reduce down the number of player assistants. I'll talk specifically just about the Straits course. If we went back 5-6 years on busy days, 200 plus players on a day, we would most of the time have 3 player assistants on the golf course. Now we're down to 1 or 2, depending upon what's kind of going on with that day. So we've reduced the number of staff hours there. Speaking of staff, it's not only the savings that we've realized from that, but it's a tool in the staff members' hands to make their employment experience better. So that's extremely important to me as well, is do they have the tools to be successful in what we're asking them to do? And now the answer to that is yes. So savings are important, but that tool is incredibly important to me as well. Tee sheet optimization, another change since before we were on this system, is we have reduced down the number of starter times that we have on our golf courses. So by adding 1 or 2 more tee times to each of the golf courses, depending upon the day, but at minimum we added 1. Many days we added 2 on the golf courses, and on busy days, 4 golf courses, busy days, sold out. That can make a significant difference, for us from a business standpoint. We're a large operation, as I mentioned before. So if we add 1 more tee time on the Straits course on a particular day, we also have restrictions in place that if you want to book a tee time on the Straits course, you have to stay at the resort 1 or 2 nights. So by opening up 4 players on the Straits course, we've now gained those 4 players, possibly multiple nights at the hotel. And if they're staying multiple nights at the hotel, they're probably playing other rounds of golf and dining with us. So, short story, I'm making a short story long, but you know, those 4 players that we've added, or 8 players that we've added on the golf course, equate to, you know, helping the entirety of our business at the resort. So, and then, you know, on the back end, we have the data to track to see if what we're doing is right. And if we need to make adjustments, then we do from there.
That's nicely wrapped up. And Craig, just very quickly, I think just your business brain always looks at what's the fixed cost nature of a golf course, and what profitability benefits do you have from getting just a little bit more out of your asset. So how do you see our partners tighten the screws and get some highly profitable dollars back into the operation?
Well, I mean, you've led into the answer very effectively there, Bodo. So those 8 additional players that turn into maybe 16 rounds of golf are highly profitable because the costs are sunk, right? Whistling Straits has spent the money on providing the environment. It's spent. So that extra bit of revenue goes straight to the bottom line. So, yeah, I mean, it's a highly geared enhancement, which is why Mike loves it so much.
I don't even think for us, you know, like we're a resort destination bucket list type place that people want to get to, but you know, even at you know, let's call it the local public golf course, you know, the addition of those 4-8 players on a daily basis with all the sunk cost in the golf course maintenance and maintaining your facilities, that's dropping straight to the bottom line, whether it's $200, $400, $800, whatever the case may be. You do that 150 times throughout the year, and it's significant.
And according to the data, the good thing is that you can do it and create a better experience for everyone else, right? So the experience factor and that net promoter score shooting high and being consistent is obviously great for business. And that is something that you guys are doing exceptionally well. I think let's open up the floor for a few questions. And while we do that, if I can ask you guys in the crowd again to just answer a quick poll. How do you think data and optimization could make an impact at your course? What are some of the items that you would choose? Let me just launch that quickly and see if I can find a second poll. It's always nice to see what the crowd is thinking. And while you're doing that, think of some questions that you might want to ask Mike or Craig. So where are the opportunities that you're seeing from an optimization and data point of view that can help your operation? Cost savings via labor efficiency, something that Mike mentioned, increased revenue via additional teacher capacity. That doesn't stick everywhere, but on the days that it matters, if you have it and you can sell it, it certainly seems to make sense. If you freeing up people's time, can they spend more time with you in the clubhouse and in food and beverage? An enhanced player experience should always be a winner. Data empowered management of processes and staff, really keeping people accountable. Maybe the superintendent and maintenance savings. We haven't really dug into that, but obviously a lot of our customers are tracking maintenance vehicles and really getting smart also around course utilization, looking at heat maps and so on. Okay, so we've got some nice feedback on here, and what comes out tops is enhancing the player experience. If we can use optimization and data, then that is worth it for a lot of people. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. You can see red and blue seems to be the color of the moment. Share results. There we go. So what comes out tops is enhance the player experience, a focus for everyone. Data empowered management of processes and staff, important. Increased revenue via additional teacher capacity. If you can get it, why not take it? And freeing up people's time so they can spend more time with you in food and beverage and pro shop seems to shine a light as well. And obviously we all want to be more efficient. So what's been interesting this year is that many clubs have had to do more with less staff, right? Because of COVID restrictions and less touch points. And we've seen a lot of people do really well just digging into the technology a little bit better because it helps so much as being accurate, and fewer people can have the line of sight and get things done. Natalie, do we have any questions that we want to post? We do? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, here's a question. We currently have GPS and get cart location. How is this system different? And maybe I want to just give that question to Craig quickly.
So the traditional systems out there give you geographic position, and so you can see your field in real time. However, they don't conceptualize it very well. And that's where Tagmarshal is different on the live viewing side. So our algorithms are trialing through all that data, and they're giving you smart tips as to where your highest risk factors are on your course. So instead of sort of trying to guesstimate, you can go directly to the problem. That's the primary difference between Tagmarshal and on the live mapping side. But on the stats side, we've developed technology that tracks round times, which is not an easy thing to do. And all of that statistical weight then over time becomes extremely valuable, especially when you can build profiles on players and caddies whom we can capture and pair with that data. You get this really rich and valuable data texture. So those are the two key differences.
Thanks, Greg. Here's a question from Mike. For you and the team, has the technology adoption been easier, and what do your team think of it? Because the manager's point of view is one thing, but the people on the ground, what do your team think of the technology?
From a, I'll go back 4 or 5 years when we first started, and be completely candid. The golf professional staff on board immediately embraced it, loved it. With some of the staff members that work on the golf course, probably like many of us, we have a group of retired individuals that, are our marshals or our player sits on the golf course. That first year we had, some issues, just them having the ability to get really comfortable with the system. But after a couple months, they got comfortable with it. They loved it. So it's like any new system. I think it was, right out of the gates. We had to get comfortable with the system, do some training on the system and how to use it. But, overall, very, very good, over the past several years, and everyone's very comfortable with it, easy to use. So yeah, all good.
Thanks. There's one more question, and obviously this is impacted by COVID. So here's somebody saying, pace of players, our course has been great during COVID with single riders and so on, and we've been running 15 minutes quicker than normal. So I'm not worried about pace of play, but flow obviously is always a question. And how does the system help me and my team manage the flow? If pace of play is good, but flow is a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I don't know, Craig, you want me to take that one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I think that's an important piece of the real-time data. So it's very easy for someone to open up the system and see all green and say, hey, we're good, nothing to worry about. When there's a 2-hole gap out there and one group's 20 minutes under pace and one is, -1 or something like that, and that can easily spin out of control and turn into pace problems, or it could be just a little slower than it could be. So, again, I go back to the real-time feedback on the golf course and the ability to look at not only time of play, but position on golf course, and you get that in the moment. So, having a caddy or a player assistant encouraging someone to close the gap versus, pick up time has been, something we've used that for.
So that's your flow taken care of. So here's one comment of one of our existing customers that they're saying that we've got Tagmarshal, we've got a live TV in our pro shop. just to show everyone that we take pace of play and flow of play seriously, and that we're keeping an eye. Is that something that you have at any of your facilities, or are you keeping it under wraps with your team watching on their
We
PCs?
don't have it with our guests, but we do in the caddy office.
Okay.
So that's another way we've used it, is that the caddies can see how each other do. And we recognize caddies that do well. And we have some small penalties, to be honest with you, in place for caddies that consistently don't do well. So, having a scoreboard of sorts down in the caddy waiting area has been good for us, because those caddies don't want to be, known as the slow group all the time.
Sure.
So that's been.
I think that's also one way that our private clubs are using the system, just keeping tabs on the repeat players, right, the members, and then rewarding the ones that rise to the top, and then having discrete conversations with the ones that should rather tee off in the afternoon. If you have that information, it's easy to do. Here's one question from Sean Tolson. Mike, as far as on-course bottlenecks are concerned, has the Tagmarshal system revealed troublesome holes that surprised you? In other words, did the system reveal slow down holes that you hadn't considered to be potentially problematic before you had the actual data?
Bodo, say that one more time. I'm not sure I caught the gist of that question.
No problem. As far as course bottlenecks are concerned, has the Tagmarshal system revealed troublesome holes that you were surprised by?
Gotcha. I wouldn't say that. I would say, early on, nothing really surprised us. What the data has done over time, it's made us properly allocate the correct amount of time to each hole or each position on the golf course. So, our old Excel spreadsheet was probably off a little bit. And then when we measure good rounds of golf, good pace rounds of golf, for us, let's say it's 4 hours and 40 minutes is good. Now we can allocate that time properly because we have a ton of good rounds on the books, let's call it, and we can use that data to properly allocate time around the golf course. So Sean, I don't know if that answers the question, but I wouldn't say there was anything really surprising out of the gates that said, the seventh hole plays 12 minutes longer than we thought it would.
Well, maybe I can add some, because Mike, I think you guys are coming from a position of having collected a lot of data manually, and not everyone does that or has the resources to do it. And we've worked with many courses that on the initial sort of setup of Tagmarshal, their assumptions around where flow on their course is bottlenecking is completely debunked by looking at the hole times and hole stats. And they've been able to then adjust setups, whether it be moving tee boxes forward or putting pins in harder positions, just to regulate the flow a little bit. So that certainly does help a lot of our customers.
Gents, two things I got to do. One is a shout out to the Pebble Beach team that are joining. Thanks for being up so early. And I know my sales team is going to shout at me if I don't tell you guys about our 2 months free program. If you're interested in learning more about what we do, come check out our website, and you will learn, and you can have a demo and speak to one of our product specialists. Because we would love, obviously, to grow as we've done with the Straits. Mike, thank you so much for your time and for your insight. And Craig, thanks for adding a bit of data depth to our conversation. It's been great. And I know that we've gone a little bit over, but it was such a great round. It was definitely worth it. Mike, and all the best for the rest of the year. I know you've wound down things. And hopefully, we can watch you guys on the big screen with lots and lots of fans next year for the Ryder Cup. Yeah. Oh, and lastly, what is your bet on the Masters now that it's around the corner?
Oh, that's a tough one. Colin Morikawa.
Nice. Okay. Okay. And you're not
Tiger
going to
defense.
substantiate, hey?
What about a tiger defense?
That would be special. That's for sure.
It would be.
I think we've seen that magic. That'll be hard to top. Okay, gents, thank you so much. Also, thanks to our audience for the good questions and for sticking with us. Almost everyone's still on. Oh, there's a Q&A. Okay, great. We've answered all the questions. Okay, Mike, thank you so much.
Right.
Thanks and all the
everybody.
best.
Bye-bye.